TL on blue side. This is almost universally a red side ban here in the first half of ban, so that does switch it up a little bit. But we will see the first pick Jinx for TL.
Yep, going to be going towards Jinx. If TSM doesn't grab Thresh, you have to imagine that Ayla is going to be able to grab that for himself to pair that up. One of those really, really strong duos. Jhin, the option here instead of the Ophelio, so that is kind of the third pick that does seem to be relatively popular. And they're going Nautilus here. It's almost like daring you to grab the Thresh anyway, because this is a matchup that a lot of people do prefer in that Thresh versus Nautilus. So Yurson going to be on Comfort. This is also a champion that he has been playing a tremendous amount of, and has been going pretty well with the team, though, as Bjergsen was saying, TSM has been really having a lot of struggles. You know, this is first versus last. This is TSM, who's coming off of yesterday getting absolutely stomped by CLG, the other team that was down at the bottom of the standings. So they desperately need to try to get some momentum. You don't want to be ending that first half 1-8. That would be really a shocker based on the preseason expectations for this squad.
Well, they do have some playmaking capability with Jhin and Nautilus put together. We know the CC chain between these champions can be very effective. Jhin having the ability to participate in fights from a long way away. TL, they will grab the Thresh for Ayla exactly like you were talking about. Their other pick in the first half of the draft will be the Graves, which is usually seen top lane these days.
And now we'll have to find out if Huni's going to actually answer that here, or if there was not going to be parity in those first 3 picks. And instead, they're going to go for the Lee Sin. So Spica going to be locking in his jungler, and then you generally can expect bans to be kind of targeted at the pick that hasn't happened yet. You know, TSM going to be throwing jungle bans. You expect TL potentially to be throwing some of those top lane bans. They could look to protect Bjergsen in mid lane as well, because he is going to have to blind here, given that we're assuming Kaido is going to go for that 5th pick. Santorin, though, going to be getting his Trundle banned away, something he is incredibly well known for. There's a lot of junglers still on the table, though. Nothing was getting banned in that first round, so you're not going to be able to fully knock him down. If that's the only one that you're worried about, that is fine, but there's still Udyr, there's Xin, there's Hecarim. There's a lot of really high-tier junglers that are available, so TSM has kind of got to make that choice. Would you rather knock Bjergsen down another peg, or just continue to try to lower Santorin on that jungle totem pole?
I always find that an interesting thing to look at and have a conversation about during a draft is how effective is this ban in general, and how effective is it giving the context and the situation that we're in? Whereas you're talking about, if the S and A tier of jungle combined has 6 or 7 picks in it,
who cares?
Getting rid of one of them doesn't really mean a whole lot, unless, of course, there's something very specific that you're getting rid of it for.
Yeah, like if you're banning the player, that's where I sometimes think that banning the player makes more sense than banning the meta. If there's a bunch of champions that they can pick from and they're all pretty strong, well, ban what you think he's going to be most comfortable on. So they ban out the Trundle, they ban out the Volley. On the other side, it is going to be Jace to try to protect this Graves in that top lane matchup. Trinir is already banned out, so you know that's off the table. Huni could just go Gnar, and we've seen that kind of go both ways, where I think that's a pretty reasonable matchup. But Rumble getting locked in, so a bit of a difference here.
A Huni classic.
I wonder if this is going to be Rumble top. That's the obvious assumption, but Rumble mid does have some merit. It is something that we have seen in the past in these kind of roaming Rumble mids, where you just push and you roam and you try to fight around dragons and heralds.
Equalizers.
Could be something like that. I don't expect that to be a great matchup topside if he is going up against that Graves, because Graves with Fleet, I think you're going to be able to sustain through a lot of the Flame Splitter damage, really push heavily in on Huni if he is playing this Rumble. And Xin locked in pretty much as expected. TSM going very stock and standard with 3 physical damage. It's going to be a control mage. It's going to be something like the Victor or the Corki, pretty much guaranteed scaling. Instead, Zillion. Okay, so he's
classic for Bjergsen.
He's going to the classic pick here. The TSM Zillion used against TSM is betraying them with it. So they are pretty low on magic damage, because Zillion is more of like a supportive style champion, more of a facilitation style champion. But it is going to be a very effective pick here. Speed up the Jinx in the late game, speed up the Xin and buff him up in the early game. The Sylas getting locked in as that 5th pick really is a pretty nice answer to the Zillion, though. It is a matchup that you can win early, and then you do get that utility of the Zillion ult for your own team. Besides that, I think that the Xin Zhao ultimate is really, really strong. Being able to have that, for that kind of parry zone, the protection is really nice. It's kind of like a miniature version of the combo we used to see all the time when Sylas would be picked into Alistar teams to have that Alistar. So this is kind of very similar to that.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you look at the description of Sylas's ultimate, and for a lot of players, you start thinking, what has the highest AP ratio? What can I turn into an absolute orbital blast to just erase someone from Summoner's Rift. But then, in effect, the things that are the best for Sylas often appear to be those defensive options. Allow him to go in, be a melee carry without that proper counterplay, without that proper threat from range, and really just run amok in the team fights. And that, I think, is when he excels. It is when he looks the best. And we'll see if that's the secret weapon here for the side of TSM, if they can pop off, if they can take down a Team Liquid that is currently looking so strong. All right, let's go. It's the final day of Super Week, and we are going to kick it off here with a bang. TSM, let's see how the early game looks. Checking through our summoner spells, checking through our runes. Let's see, everything's pretty stock and standard here. I'm not seeing anything in particular that stands out too crazy for me.
I can't remember what team it was against, but remember last year, I want to say it was like the record for fastest first blood ever. TSM just tried to replicate that cheese, where they went 5-man sprint down mid with the Nautilus, and if the other player is slipping a little bit, not paying as much attention, you can actually get that flash Nautilus hook and get that insta-kill using your home guards. It's one of those plays that is rare to see it repeated.
Yeah.
I like the attempts on those, though, and it is pretty clever to see it happen.
Oh, boy.
This is at least going to be a mana flow ban. That's
that'll be a nice little bit of damage. I was hoping maybe we would get, like, some absolute wild and craziness, but then on second look, I realized, yeah, there's actually no
one Zillion.
Yeah, there's no hard. I was like, oh man, there's Xin, there's Zillion.
Take a clock.
None of this is actually useful at level 1, so I was just getting myself all hyped up for nothing. Now I feel bad. Hopefully, however, we get to see a little bit of spiciness here early on. Nope, the Rumble walks down, but they've already got that ward placed down. So for TSM, they'll have information that Santorin is starting here on the blue buff. You can see Spica starting on his own blue, so junglers pathing opposite directions here in the early game.
Yep. Huni is going to be going Comet, so he is, of course, being the one piling the Rumble. I think it's nice to see Huni back on one of his signature picks, because TSM has been struggling, and I think sometimes when you're struggling, it's really just intelligent, just move towards comfort, play towards those styles that you really are adept at, and I think this is something that Huni has been good at for so long, so seeing him on the Rumble, get Spica on this early game jungler where he can have a lot of impact and see what they can get done. Because TSM need to start picking up some wins, need to start really, I think, just building some direction. You know, you don't have to have the best ever first half, and they do have some young players on there that they are trying to develop, but you want to at least feel like you're headed in the right direction, and so far it hasn't been the case.
And even in the game that they got the win in, right, when they took down the Golden Guardians, I believe it was, in that one, they were losing for 90% of the game. Yes, they had an awesome comeback. Yeah, they had that Hail Mary play. But in terms of developing as a team, in terms of getting better as a unit, that's not saying a lot of good things for you, because we kind of just managed to turn coal into gold at the very end, when in reality, we wanted to go mine the gold to begin with.
Yeah, I think it was the Immortals game, right, with the Smite top that they did
yeah,
that.
that's right.
And it's one of those things where you can't rely on that strategy forever. You know, want to see them be able to pick up some wins with some more standard strategies. So, you know, yes, Rumble is a little bit outside the meta, but this is a pretty standard team comp. And I'm going to be interested to see what they can pull off. I do think there's going to be a lot of value in stacking some armor here on the TSM side. They don't have any, like, true tanks that's just going to have 1 million armor. But TSM maybe getting Dove here. 4-man bot for TL, trying to set this up. We'll see if Bjergsen can land a stun.
Bjergsen and Santorin are both ready to roll. Ayla's already going to start it off, but neither one of the bombs find their target. TL will back away after that one, but they get a teleport out of TSM and Kaido in the mid lane.
Exactly. That's actually a really big deal there, because Kaido is not going to have his teleport now. Bjergsen still does. And I want to see this mid lane wave. It is actually just ever so slightly. It's pushing towards Bjergsen. So now, if he just holds that wave, it's going to push towards him. Kaido is going to have a lot of the CS actually denied from him. And you can see Bjergsen recognizes that. As a result, he's only going to last hit. He's not going to be spam auto-attacking. So all those minions, it's going to be at least 6 minions that have died. I think he already lost a full wave. So now we're on 7 with that melee going down where you miss that XP. And really, really nice stuff from TSM, or rather against TSM here, to create a small advantage without a lot of risk, right? You know, they didn't pull off the dive, but Bjergsen didn't really lose anything for going for it. and you're taxing resources from this Silas.
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at summoner spells, I don't really feel like there was a whole lot of intent to go all the way, super send it, kill or nothing in the bottom side there for TL. Ayla still has Ignite. I feel like that's the one summoner spell that you always see committed instantly if it really is a kill shot, and that's just letting us know, hey, this is a win for Team Liquid in that play.
Yep, exactly. So well done by them. We'll have to see what TSM can do as a response, trying to invade here, get a little bit of vision, trying to take over this side of the jungle.
Nothing there, unfortunately.
Potentially see if they could find someone, but at the very least, they now know, hey, jungler's not bot side, guess what? He's top side. You get that information through the inference of where he's going to be. Spica will be able to take away the Raptors as Kaido just pushes in. And Nautilus hadn't been showing, so it's not like you can just try to cover that as Bjergsen and try to do any sort of a 2v2 play.
Right.
Because you know Nautilus is missing bot. Tactical's playing safe down there, so things going pretty well. Up on that top side, you can see that Huni has already committed his teleport in response. And going to be just... I'm just to see where he goes. I think Rocket Belt is what I've seen the most commonly purchased on Rumble lately. You know, just being able to close the gap with that is actually quite nice, and it helps to really empower that wave clear.
Spell Pen too, I mean, it's one of Rumble's best friends. This champion's always been known as such a powerful mid-game spiking champion. Having that extra Spell Pen, especially if opponents are not going to be building a ton of MR, which, I mean, when we look at the composition from TL, they're really not. Yurson's going to be taken down to pretty low, however, below 100 HP, even one more shot, and Team Liquid gets first blood before TSM can get back up to the scene.
Straight up 2v2 kill there onto Yurson. They made it look very, very easy. Yurson, no flash available, I believe. In the Glacial Augment, you just can't really get out unless you can actually hook away. And I think he hooked in to maybe proc his Aftershock, but Whippo now face check there.
Okay, there comes your equalizer. Huni's trying to outplay it, see if he can do anything here. He nearly takes Whippo out. However, Bjergsen was nearby with the Chrono Shift to be able to bring him back. Even if he did fall, Huni has to spend ult and flash, but he stays alive.
He does stay alive. At the very least, they got the ult out of Bjergsen, and Bjergsen doesn't have a ton of CDR now, so that's somewhat relevant. The flash being forced is nice, but Whippo at the very least did miss a little bit of farm, and Huni actually might catch him slipping here. Oh, Whippo is very low. He does have flash, so he shouldn't die, but at the very least, he's going to push him out.
He'll be just fine there. Gets himself back over the wall, has the dash to be able to do that, and now he can reset. No teleport, of course, to get back into lane, so he will have to hoof it all the way back up here. You can see Huni sticking around, wants to get this next one shoved up, get those underneath the turret as quick as possible, and guarantee that things equalize back afterwards.
Yep, absolutely. Just going to be continually shoving that in. Will maintain a CS advantage. Is a cannon wave, so it's a good time for Whippo to base anyway. But he'll at least lose, you know, the one melee minion, maybe the cannon as well. So things going pretty well there for Huni, and I do think armor is going to be super, super effective here for TSM. Again, no true tank, and we didn't really get to kind of flesh that out. But there's multiple good Zhonya's builders. Obviously, you know, Rumble and Silas are eventually going to want to build the Zhonya's. We're probably going to see Tabbies or something along those lines from Spica. Death Dance can be really strong in games like this. You know, you don't have to fully commit to armor to still get a lot of value. Because with Zilean really being the only magic damage, it's not that threatening. Zilean is not a high DPS champion. You can do decent burst on squishies with the bombs, but you really are more there to enable, to slow down, to speed up, to have the ult, to have the CC, and that's going to be his job.
Yeah, when I look at bruiser champions like Lee Sin, two items that immediately come to mind as typically more aggressive options, but ones that really feel good against heavy AD compositions are the Death's Dance and the Guardian Angel, both that can give you a strong defensive option, mostly against AD champions in terms of the stat profile. So doesn't feel nearly as good to build that if it's just constant AP threats against you, but hey, that's not the case this time around. TSM will have those options for their jungler, but let's see what that jungler's up to now, because the Rift Herald has been started. Spica has Kaido and Huni here to help him. Yurson as well. The only TSM player not in the area is Tactical, who's still staying bottom. Super Mega Death Rocket fired up, hits Kaido for 20% HP, no big deal. Free Herald for TSM.
Yep, they're going to be able to get that. And I like that they didn't overcommit and send Tactical all the way up now, too. The only question is, can they actually keep Tactical off this? Hans does cash in on one plate. Bjergsen's roaming down, so they're trying to really keep him pushed off and deny a lot of this farm from him. But as Yurson arrives, as Spica moves down to the side of the map, Tactical will be able to move forward and collect most of it. So almost gets that that second plate, or 2.5, I guess, down. Still, pretty valuable push there for Hans Sama, and you're going to say it's a worthwhile trade for TL.
And I like to see that because I remember you calling this out specifically so many times in the past, is teams recognizing their opponents taking Rift Herald, sending a bunch of men all the way up there for this battle that never ends up happening when you could have just made this play instead. Rift Herald is guaranteed to get you 2 plates. Hans Sama just got 2 plates.
Exactly, and I like on the other side that TSM didn't overcommit tactical because they realized they didn't actually need all 5, so they send 4 up, they leave tactical bot. As a result, yes, you still lose the 2 plate spot, but the experience is gained by tactical. He's not very far behind. Huni, little poke equalizer there to push him in. We'll just kind of force Bwipo back over the wall here, but Bwipo getting chunked out and honestly getting bullied pretty heavily. He is still going kind of just for the lethality, very aggressive build. He didn't decide to go a little bit more defensive. If he wanted to play it more for farm, I think he honestly could have just gotten an early vamp or even moved towards like Hexdrinker or something like that. But Bwipo is a very aggressive player, and Huni is kind of taking advantage of that because until Bwipo gets some more sustain in,
oh, nice kick back onto Bjergsen there, but he does get the ulti off in time.
On cooldown.
Ayla's coming to try to help him, so they're going to get the flash out of the TL mid laner, but now Spica, he'll die next. Stolen Chrono Shift brings him back. It is a battle of resurrections, but it's TSM who get the first real kill here in the mid lane. Now Spica's got to try to get out. That bomb will explode, but it will not take him down. That fight goes TSM's way.
Nicely done there by TSM. Spica had a really good kick. They get the flash off Bjergsen. They get the ultimate down. And Kaido has that stolen ult, but Tactical now in trouble.
Oh, Hans Sama's looking for him there. The zap didn't connect. That was huge. It's the only thing that kept Tactical alive. And now he'll fire back. Hans Sama gets away. Ayla's ready to block the shots. Both AD carries. Azael dancing with death on that one.
Yeah, Hans looking confident. Look for the W. Oh, man, that was close. I'm not sure if it actually hit Ayla or if it missed both of them. Either way, good bit of blocking there. Ayla gets down in time. Otherwise, it would have had to be a flash probably from Hans because Tactical was on point with the connections there. Here we can see it one more time. Spica on the wraparound coming from this other side of your screen. They land the hook. Yurson hits it. Q, ward hop, kick, flash all the way through. They force out that ulti from Bjergsen. He has to flash because Ayla had already spent the ultimate, then committing here onto Spica, but the Sylas ulti is up, so Spica goes in, gets a little bit of damage. The cooldowns come back up from Yurson and Kaido, and they can go in with that CC to get a kill, force out another flash. It's a nice play for TSM, and they're even going to be able to grab Dragon off this, which is going to have them feeling pretty damn good.
Yeah, TSM, they've got themselves that neutral objective in the Herald. Now they've got the first Drake as well. That Herald is going to need to be used very soon. You can see in the inventory there, remember that the item has about 4 minutes of use time, so every quarter of that circular cooldown looking thing that you don't have an exact number for, you can just generally evaluate that as a minute. So, hey, half a minute left to use the Herald. I want to see TSM get whatever value they can.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to drop it pretty soon. It's always kind of that embarrassing moment when you pick this up as a jungler and you're like, ooh, I have to drop it randomly.
Oh, no,
like,
I have to throw it in the base.
Herald spawns by the wolf pit. You're like, ooh, we hate to see it happen. So they're going to head mid. He's going to have to drop it pretty much right now. So just going to go mid, push it in, drop that Herald. Bjergsen will be able to get some damage done, but you can't actually interrupt that Herald cast. So they will cash out on those couple plates and at least get the expected value of just that 2 plates back. And they can even move straight up towards topside. Bwipo has no TP, so you threaten this roam. Bwipo sees it coming, but he's on the run now, and he may be caught out in the wrong spot here. He's wrapped up.
Oh, this looks like a eulogy for poor Bwipo. Equalizer gets placed down. He's going to try to outplay for now. Turret shot hits Huni. Bjergsen's teleport will be able to keep his top laner alive. Super Mega Death Rocket flies out just in case TSM would have gone for the dive, but they don't, so goes wide.
This is like the inverse play of what we saw TL do, right? You know, early on, Bjergsen moved down towards bot side, force out Kaido's TP. Now, Kaido goes top side, forces out Bjergsen's TP. But TSM posturing for a fight.
Okay, Yurson goes in for the engage. It's Ayla the target, and he's already gone. Yurson trying to get away, but the Ignite keeps on ticking, and it burns him down 1 for 1. Supports are gone, and the AD carry battle clearly goes the way of Hans Sama after.
Yeah, Hans has that extra range in the rocket form, and he has his Mythic complete as well, so you got to play with respect to that. And I've got to point out, Bjergsen is just too good at farming on Zilean. It's actually crazy to me that he's
over 10 per minute.
Yeah, he's basically at 150 CS almost here at 14 minutes.
as
Zillion is actually so trash at farming in the early game. Like in the early levels, pre-lost chapter.
He doesn't look trash to me, Isaac.
Yeah, I mean, it turns out if you don't miss CS, you get a lot of gold, right? I guess that's how it is. That's what I've been doing wrong. It's easy at a certain point, but the early stages where you can be pressured, where your cooldowns are long, where the bomb thresholds are weird, it can be very difficult to last hit perfectly, and Bjergsen's pulled it off. You know, it's not the most impactful thing in the entire game, but it is constantly impressive to watch this guy play and just realize, well, yeah, he clearly has put in the time. He has the mechanics, he has the knowledge, he can play this champion, you know, at such a high level that it just always gets value, it seems like.
And that farm value in the mid lane as well as in the bottom lane here for Hans Sama, who not only has a massive farm advantage over his opponent of about 3 waves, but also took the entire turret, including pretty much all of the plates there. Yeah, Hans Sama is just packed with money. These guys are so rich right now. And even though the score is 2-2, even though we were praising TSM for being able to make good map calls similar to what TL was doing, and also for having these first 2 neutral objectives, it's TL who are enjoying the money.
Absolutely. I mean, they are in the better spot. You know, TSM is the big underdog in this matchup, and that's kind of why I want to give some credit to TSM when they are making these correct plays. You know, this is the 10th place team playing against the first place team, right? Yeah. And you have to look at it like that. You know, Parth was kind of talking about it on Waiting Room. You know, it's a fully new org. You know, he put it as though a new team has joined the league, right? You know, it's new players, it's new coaches, it's new everything for TSM, and they are kind of in this rebuilding phase right now.
It always takes time.
It does take time, and you know, expectations were definitely that they would be starting off better than they are. But this is a tough one to expect you to win when you're this far down. Bjergsen, pretty big level lead, donating some experience over to Santorin. And the concerning thing about a Jinx getting ahead, I mean, that's always going to be concerning because Jinx scales so incredibly well. But when you have the Zillion behind you, it enables you to use that gold way more effectively with the additional move speed.
Incredible.
And you can just play so aggressively in their face because you know you have that Zillion in your pocket.
Oh, tactical. Trying to get away here as TL siege up on that tier 1 turret. A little bit more damage. Nice root comes out and immediately Kaido is destroyed. TL put that together, picture perfect.
Yeah, Kaido wanted the TP in, but really TSM can't walk forward into that. And the tower was getting so low that they can always go for the dive because the tower's going to die immediately after he arrives. Great timing, great patience there from TL. It's actually better to let the TP come through and get the kill than it is to cancel the TP in that case. So getting the tower very low, but not finishing it before he arrives. They land the CC, they burst them down. They should grab Dragon off this as well as that's about to spawn. You can see Santorin's down on that bottom side. I think he'll just grab that up for himself. Yes, Huni is having a pretty nice laning phase. You know, he did get that tower down on top with some of the pressure that they've actually put up there. But Bwipo's still getting his farm. Bwipo's still, you know, nearly 10 CS per minute. It's not like you put the Graves out of the game by any means.
Right.
And Huni's still not going to be nearly as powerful as the most powerful members on TL. So we'll see what TSM wants to do. I think one thing that is kind of working in their favor is that, you know, Zillion really excels against single target damage, and at the very least, TSM has some pretty good AoE damage with that Rumble. Yeah. That makes it, if you can get a multi-man equalizer, you know, if multiple people are getting hit by that and really getting splashed up on damage, you have to pick and choose. You can't just ult everyone and save them. It's not like when you're playing against Syndra and Syndra ult one person, you always have that easy, obvious target. So that could make things more difficult. And TSM going to be able to grab this mid lane tier 1. So keeping the gold here pretty close, and we'll see if they want to fight come next Dragon, utilizing that Rumble.
Ooh, curtain call's already opened up. He's looking for Hans, but instead they're going to get Bwipo. TSM, they just go for the dog pile down mid lane with the second Herald. They end up nearly getting the tier 2 turret, and they're going to pick up the kill on Bwipo to keep the kills tied up.
And they will get the tier 2 turret here with the wave coming in. So gold should be in their favor, if not, you know, dead even. It's going to be really, really nice. So yeah, pretty much dead even off of that.
75 gold.
70 gold, who cares? But Hans on 2 items very, very quickly. Some more gold going to tactical off that. So he should be closing in on his second item, which is going to be really nice. And he's got another 1100 in pocket, so just about there on the rapid fire we can expect. And I think we're kind of just waiting for this next Dragon because TSM, when you go Rumble, you've got to fight around objectives. You really have to be willing to do it. Cloud, I feel like we've been getting so many Cloud Souls, which isn't the ideal one.
No.
But it is definitely still powerful, and flat move speed's really nice. I always think, in particular on Jhin, it feels really, really good for a lot of the marksmen because Jin already has a ton of move speed from his passive and from those crit hits and stuff. And then the 10% can really kind of put it over the top, especially if you are going to be going Swifties. It looks like he may just be going Tabbies with that cloth armor he's sitting on, so
but again,
do what he wants to do.
That makes a lot of sense considering the threats that he has to deal with. I mean, Xinjiao will always be diving on you, and then any of the range damage that you take, it's 2 different marksman champions. Zilean should not be able to constantly strap bombs to your head.
Something's going wrong if he can.
That's not an ideal gameplay scenario. At that point, there's something more wrong than the item.
Yeah, and we can see it's going to be Death Dance second here for Spica, so kind of expected there. Huni is just building some heal cut. He has his rocket belt. He may go towards the Zhonya's next. He could also delay that quite a bit. It looks like Kaido is just going for straight up Zhonya's second. You can sometimes just sit on the stopwatch, complete another item, and then go it later on, like go Cosmic or whatever. So there are options there, but second item through for Tactical. A lot of completions coming through across the board. Bahan still showing his strength, has an additional BF plus the tier 2 boots completed. He is really, really strong. The earlier locket is there for Ayla, so unless some of these item completions come through prior to the next dragon fight, I don't know if TSM will even want to fight when they're down completed pieces.
Whippo will pick up the rest of this wave here, force Kaido back now too. Spica is hovering around the area in the enemy jungle once again. Oh, but Kaido is going to stop here in the brush to try to fight back against Whippo. Goes for the stasis there to make sure he doesn't die, but it's Han Sama guaranteeing it with Super Mega Death Rocket Brand Insurance. Flash away from the equalizer. Whippo trying to kite it out and fight it out and stay alive however he can. However, that minion wave walking up means the shotgun is not going to do it. But while TSM are responding to Team Liquid's top laner, Team Liquid are taking advantage across the map. They're going for the Baron. Nobody's nearby to stop it. This should be a freebie for the side of TL. You will take that trade daily, nightly, and ever so right.
That's huge. I mean, you killed the guy with the cigar, but they got the big purple worm, and TSM not going to be feeling too good about that trade at the end. They committed not only their jungler down there, but I mean, Kato got pushed back, so he's running. Huni has to TP, and this is just the pressure that Whippo is able to actually create. You know, you look at the minimap, TL are already up in this area, already around this top side, creating vision. And as Kato gets pushed out, it's just everyone calling to actually support him. Spica moves down. The TP comes in from Huni. TL know now, all right, he's dead. Jungler's bot. Top laner's bot. The only people that could possibly be here is to support in the AD. And I think they even saw that Tactical was roaming down. So, you know, just a massive amount of people moving down to this bottom side. You see Jin moving back up towards Baron, but a big overcommitment. It's right at 20 minutes, so I think Baron wasn't even on their mind, but with this Jinx this fed, they could do it no problem.
Well, the equalizer comes down as TL tries to get out of the flames and make sure that they don't lose too much HP. Bjergsen's teleport is going to bring him in with the rest of the squad. The Baron Enchanted minions are there to provide the tanking, and Han Sama's got the damage. Tier 2 turret falls here in the top lane. Team Liquid lead grows to 2,500. Still tier 2 turrets standing in the other 2 lanes, and TL are going to rotate over to those next.
Yeah, but it doesn't bode well when you can't even force the locket out with your equalizer there.
Yeah.
You know, he had it available. Ayla's like, nah, no, I just don't really even need it. So
not a big deal.
They're going to be pushing on that bottom side. Whippo just constantly shoving, creating that pressure, drawing people to him. TL are on the chase, though, to try to meet up with this wave on bot side. Baron buff it up before it can actually be cleared out, and Spica may be caught.
Oh, Spica, he got greedy for the blue buff, and although he took it, Ayla's the one wearing it now. A pick on the jungler feels great for TL, and the War Machine ain't stopping. They just keep this push going. Bottom lane tier 2, mid lane tier 2, inhibitor turret line now under siege. TSM is feeling the heat on this one.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been about the kills, but TL are making this game look so easy. It is 23 minutes, and you're uncontested, just pushing into the base, taking the inhibitors. They got so many towers with this power play. Look at plus 5,200 gold already, and they have 40 seconds remaining on it. They can retreat back to the dragon if they want to reset. Just grab that dragon for yourself, move another one closer to Seoul, pillage away the jungle. TL are absolutely slamming TSM, and TSM still haven't even been able to have like a single decent fight with the Rumble. It's just haven't been able to get anything happening.
Okay, well, the Drake is alive, and TSM are able to scare Team Liquid away from this one. Bjergsen has pretty much no mana to work with, almost entirely useless as the Zillion. Equalizer plus Curtain Call means that you're not wanting to fight there in that choke point. So, hey, TL will have to give away that Drake, but they're fine to make that trade for what they got.
They absolutely are. And the biggest deal was that Hans actually reset. So you don't want to fight without him. He's the strongest guy right now. He went back to base, completed a full IE, plus got a stopwatch. So
oh boy.
He's just so monstrously fed. And they basically said, we have so much gold in pocket, it's not worth risking a fight at this dragon when it's only their second dragon. Like, who cares? They get one individual cloud. They're not close to Soul. So instead, prioritizing just spending all the gold that they got off that Baron play. And now, there's no contesting Hans Sama. He has both summoners, he has a Zillion behind him, he has a stopwatch, and he's
next to him.
A full IE ahead. So,
it's just...
good luck.
It's a lot, man. It is a lot indeed. TSM grouped up as 4. Kaido a little bit split away from the rest of the squad there to arrive on the flank if he can. Bottom lane inhibitor is already broken, remember? The other 2 lanes do have their inhibitor turrets still intact. Baron is not back up on the map for another 2 minutes, so TSM don't have to worry about TL making that play just yet. But it's still a 5,000 gold lead for TL, and it's still a situation where all of this darkness, all of this fog of war in their own jungle is so scary for TSM, because as soon as somebody gets caught out, it turns into this. Now, TSM are going to get one back in retaliation, so at least it's a 1-for-1 across the map, but it's TL with a better position as they have their minions flooding into the bot lane. They've got their minions coming into the top lane to help them push this remaining turret. A 1-for-1 is not so even after all.
No, not at all, because, I mean, they're at your base. They have the push. TSM have to go for these types of picks. I mean, Bwipo hasn't been that involved in the game, but the pressure, when they're going for him, they're having to send so many members. It's all going to be about this potential flank from Spica. The only conceivable way they win a fight is if you kick in Hans and kill him instantly, and he doesn't even react in time to the chompers.
Spica wants to get away. Nice kick to disengage. He had to flash just to get out, though, and losing that playmaking opportunity at this point in the game just feels like losing so much of that chance for the Miracle comeback.
I think his camera wasn't on his own character because he just didn't react to the chompers in time there. You know, he threw in the chompers to actually, you know, check the brush, and he didn't react, so they get activated, and then you have to flash. And now, Bjergsen catching out Huni.
Okay, Huni's gonna get caught here. It doesn't look good. Oh, Hans's rockets, man. That's an Infinity Edge rocket right there. Just write the name on the side of it.
That's brutal, man. You just can't move when you're going up against that Zillion. It's a double slow onto Huni there. He didn't even need a double bomb. He just double slows him 99% slow. As Ayla's down to take this fight, who cares? In goes Hans.
Well, Kaido wants to knock him away there with the Xin Zhao. See, but Hans, man. Oh, the damage from Hans, it's so much. TSM, they're still trying to deal with this. Yursan's running away from Bwipo. Spica's alive, but remember, he already had to use his flash earlier. A stasis comes out to guarantee the Team Liquid support is not killed by the Jhin ulti in response.
Oh, man. This is like one of those things where you want to beat up your friend in a game, so you challenge them to the game. You know, Bjergsen's like, I hate TSM, I'll smash you, you know, you're having some fun with it. But then you start beating them too bad, and you're like, this is kind of feeling bad. Don't worry, dude. You're really good.
Yeah,
you know,
it's like, oh, my character's just broken. Don't worry, I'm just playing.
You know,
yeah,
I've played this game a lot more than you. Really.
You're just hoping he doesn't get up and leave at this point.
I'm getting lucky, you know. It's my bad. So, Bjergsen gonna help finish this one out.
Bjergsen definitely gave the rest of TSM the Mad Catz controller on this one. He is player one, and he ain't shy about it.
Little brother plugged in, man.
Oh, man. Team Liquid takes down TSM not even 28 minutes into the game. It wasn't an avalanche of kills, but it was controlled by Team Liquid the whole mid-game through to the end.
Yep, Coach Bjergsen makes his return here against TSM. But he's sitting down to play, and it's looking really clean from TL. Absolutely stomped him. Not much more you can say about that one. TSM didn't really get anything going. I think kind of the lone bright spot, I felt like Huni had some pressure in top lane, you know, early on. They did have that nice skirmish around mid with the stolen Zillion ult.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel like TSM was ever able to really set anything up. They never set up around dragons or heralds to actually get a 5v5 with the Rumble. TL was always the one dictating what was happening in the game. They were the one choosing where you fight, when you fight. And Bwipo, despite actually being pressured early, you know, by the enemy jungler, by Huni, they were having to send multiple members to stop him later on. You know, the Rumble's not able to kind of continue to deal with Graves in the later stages in those side lanes. So as they overcommit and they send multiple members to actually answer him, they lose Baron on the other side of the map, and that felt like that was pretty much game over.
When you have to have multiple enemies deal with your guy who is 0-3 in top lane, it feels great. It's free pressure. It creates so much space.
That's the unironic it's just making space, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
it's
you
not
are
there, you're
making
running
space.
It down. He's actually making space. Like, Huni had to TP down, the mid laner dies, Tactical's roaming down, Spica's down there, and it's post 20 minutes where TL has vision on Baron.
Yeah. And when we saw him even use the flash to get away from the equalizer and the deadly flourish there, he's not flashing because he thinks he's going to stay alive. He's running towards the enemy base. He knows where he's going. And it doesn't matter because that flash buys another 10 seconds, creates a world where there's no possible opportunity for TSM to challenge for the Baron. 20-minute Baron wins a lot of games of League of Legends.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you're farming that well. I mean, Bjergsen was super ahead of the curve. He was farming incredibly well. Hans got really rich from the early plates as well as how well he was farming and had the Zillion support. So experience is getting injected into his teammates. He has that protection. He can play aggressively, and he made the most out of it. TL looking really, really clean this weekend.
Well, with a win against his former team under his belt, we're going to join Bjergsen with the Tigris for our variety.